Hello, welcome to Rockville Central. This is Brad Rourke. I'm the publisher of Rockville Central. Today we're here with Council Member John Britton. John, how are you?
I'm fine, Brad. How are you today?
Oh, I'm very well. Thanks for being here. John, who are you? What do you do in real life? And what did you do to get here on the council?
Well, I am a resident, about a 9 or 10 year resident of Rockville here in the West End. In fact, we're sitting on my patio adjacent to one of our nice parks in Rockville, Monument Park. My wife is Catherine, and I have 3 children, 2 of whom are in Richard Montgomery High School. One is a 7th grader at Julius West.
You're a land use attorney, work for municipalities and citizens groups. You were on the Planning Commission. You're a land use guy. The issues that come before the council are not just land use issues. There's many issues. What's been the biggest learning curve for you as a new member of the city council?
I would have to say getting involved now in the budget process. Everyone follows the budget process year to year. You have your special interest and your special constituencies and your perk projects, right? But having responsibility for the entire budget process, not just solely, but with my colleagues on the council, and having a proposed budget put before us with a certain tax level, a certain expenditure level, now each one of us has to go through it and identify certain areas that we think might be able to be cut down or eliminated to help reduce the expenses in the budget, and with a likely eye to reducing the tax rate in the city, or certainly not increasing the tax rate. It's a difficult year, and this has been challenging, I think, for all of us, and I put myself in that category, because of the water rate increase that we are discussing, because of the infrastructure needs in our water system, because of the infrastructure needs in our stormwater management system, and some of that is dictated by state and federal law, and of course because of operations throughout the city. We're a very complex society. This is something I thought I knew, but I'm learning more about. Very complex economy. There are lots of constituencies for different things, and it's not always a matter of just looking at something and saying, well, here's an expense, and it's not bringing in this much money, so therefore, it's not paying for itself. It really is a value judgment of what value does this have for the city, even if the dollar amount is not being recovered per se.
Now, you were quiet for some time as something called the Move the Courthouse effort came to fruition and began to get vocal, and it's more recently that you've taken a public position.
Yes,
I wonder if you just say a little bit about the Move the Courthouse issue. What are the issues involved, and what you think about it?
Sure. Let me first make a comment on the approach that you identified and how I like to approach lots of things. I was quiet, as you said, because I wasn't well versed in all of the issues. I didn't know all of the facts. There were a lot of generalities and assumptions being bantered about, and I wanted to be careful. I wanted to dig into the history. I wanted to talk to people. I wanted to look at documents, look at the plans. In fact, I still have a roll of the proposed building plans on my dining room table. Once I did all of that, I came out with my position. And that's the way I hope to proceed in a lot of things, and not just come out quickly with an opinion and then go back and look at the facts. So I feel very committed to the position that the proposed district courthouse on the library site is inappropriate in its current configuration. And by that I mean the massing, the use of that particular corner, the height of the building, the lack of parking, all of those factors combined for what I think is a very bad proposal for that site. Some of the issues that I discovered involved those that I just mentioned. The lack of parking, which was an assumption in the beginning of this project that there would be dedicated parking for this courthouse. The lack of parking there, I think, exacerbates a traffic issue that already exists there, and exacerbates a problem for the immediate neighborhood. If you don't have a parking place, you will be traveling around, you will be probing the adjacent streets and residential roadways, and causing tremendous problems on a daily basis. This is just not once in a lifetime thing.
Is there is this a proper role for the city to be taking, or is it something that a group of citizens ought to be taking, or is it properly both?
It's properly both. I have made my position clear. I don't think I'm in the majority on this. I don't know. But my position is clear that the city should take on the mantle of protecting the citizens' interest. And I think this is a widespread citizen concern. It's not only the immediate neighborhoods for the proposed site, it's the entire West End that has been involved in this, and quite a significant number of people, but also representatives from other neighborhoods in the city that see this as an encroachment on a neighborhood, and it's important to protect all neighborhoods. An encroachment on the land use values of the city because it violates our zoning code, which, unfortunately, I might add, the state can do. It's by law. But I think the city should be aggressive in taking the lead and helping the citizens protect their interest.
If you were a character on Gilligan's Island, which one would you be?
Oh my goodness! Now that actually is a question that only a certain generation of people could understand, or those that are tuned to like the late night cable.
I chose this television show very carefully when I thought about interviewing you.
I think I would choose the professor.
The professor.
I don't like to. I don't think I'm as smart as the professor because he was this very top-notch egghead.
He made a radio out of coconuts.
Well, I don't know that I could do that. I'm not all that scientifically inclined, but I liked his approach. I thought he was thoughtful. I thought he was quiet. I sometimes yell and scream and jump up and down and have no reason to do so, but I try not to do that so much. But I thought he was thoughtful and analytical, and that's the way I like to approach a lot of issues and problems. And they had many problems on that island.
They had one problem every week, as far as I could tell.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Which they solved very nicely in 30 minutes.
Indeed. Would that all were. As speaking of which, every good thing has to come to an end. And
are you talking about my term on the council?
Well, at some point you'll no doubt leave the city council, and I'm not saying that should happen anytime soon, but eventually that will happen. And looking back on your time on the council, what 2 or 3 things would you like to be remembered for?
I am getting more and more involved in, and as I announced during my campaign, in pedestrian safety issues. I was already, I think, a strong advocate for what happened at RM with stop signs and the islands and things like that. Pushing hard for, and what's going on now, a survey of our pedestrian areas, our walkways, our bike path crossings. Wherever a bike path or a pedestrian walkway crosses a street or some sort of intersection, to identify. First, to take a survey of all those, and then identify if there are proper markings, both for the bicyclists, for the joggers and walkers, pedestrians, and for the automobiles. And I think the biggest challenge, and what I'd like to be remembered for, is getting people to change their focus, to look at a roadway and say, how do we design this for walking, for hanging out, for safety? And then think about the cars after that, not vice versa, which has been an engineering concept for 40 years now. How do we get the cars through quickly, and then give, some attention to safety, put in sidewalks and this and that, but still focus on getting these cars through quickly. Let's not hold up any of the commuters. Let's get them in and out.
John Britton, you've set yourself the task of Sisyphus to change our view of automobiles and how they relate to cars and put pedestrians first. I applaud you for that.
I hope to change that fable, the ending of that fable.
It doesn't end well. In fact, it never quite ends. Speaking of good things that must come to an end, this has been a wonderful interview.
Oh, great.
Councilmember Britton, thank you for being with us.
Thank you very much.
Rockville Central. Come visit us at www.rockvillecentral.com.